What's up, everybody? I'm Clayton. Welcome back to my movie review channel, and today we're reviewing An American Werewolf in London. That's right, son. We are on to Werewolf and Vampire Week, so we're going to be doing werewolf vampire movies all week long. It's October, so it's horror month. Last week was our creature feature. We knocked out a great white. We knocked out a couple alien creatures. And we even knocked out a creeper himself. So we're moving on. We're going to stake some vampires and shoot some silver into some werewolves. And I thought, what better way to start than with one of the most iconic and classic werewolf movies of all time, An American Werewolf in London. So let's kick it. Released in 1981, written and directed by John Landis. This movie is a classic in the werewolf genre. It's one of my favorite werewolf movies of all time. It's one of my favorite horror films of all time. I'm a big werewolf guy. I've been a huge werewolf fanatic since I was early in my teens. I've always thought that werewolves were the coolest mythical creatures, like monster creatures. I've always been a big werewolf fan, so I don't even like vampires, dude. Vampires can kick rocks, bro. Get vampires out of here. No vampires allowed up in here. No vampires allowed up in here. All right, so don't worry, we're going to be reviewing some vampire movies. There's some good vampire movies out there, but as a whole, vampires as creatures, nah, bro, I ain't about that. All right, I'm a werewolf guy. I even search Netflix and Max and Peacock for werewolf movies, bro. That's how big I am on, like, even if it's a crappy werewolf movie, and most of them are, I'll still probably watch it. You know why? Because I know at some point somebody's going to turn into a werewolf and mess some dudes up. All right, they're going to maul some dudes. They're going to rip people to shreds, and I'm all for it. I'm there, coach. I'm there. So, yeah, vampires kick rocks, bro. I'll hang up some garlic on my doorpost. I'll hang up some crucifix, whatever I got to do. Vampires can't even enjoy the daylight. Like, it's a beautiful day right now. I'm looking outside. It's a beautiful day. It's like 68, high 60s. Sun's out. It's a beautiful day. You can't enjoy this as a vampire. Why would you want to be a vamp, dude? Well, you can't enjoy the daylight. And for the few vampire movies where vampires can come out in the daylight, bro, nah, bro. Get that out of here. Get that out of here. Vampires don't sparkle in the daylight, i.e. twilight. Vampires burn up in the sun. That's the whole thing with vampires. That's why, like, werewolves can enjoy the daylight. You can be a werewolf and enjoy this weather right now. Just saying. So yeah, I'm team werewolf all the way, man. American Werewolf in London. Let's talk about it. Great film, love it. As far as positives go, it's almost all of it is a positive for me. I love this movie. I think that the story is well written. The story is essentially about these two friends, Jack and David, and they're tourists in London. They're touring England, and as they're walking back from a pub one night, they get brutally attacked by a werewolf. David lives, Jack RIPs, and if you, again, spoiler alert, go watch the movie. But yeah, Jack, he RIPs, and David becomes a werewolf, because we all know if you survive an attack by a werewolf, you become the bad boy werewolf. You become the big bad wolf. So yeah, and that's what happens to David. But the story kind of plays out he learns over time that he's become the werewolf. He doesn't just shift the next night into a werewolf. You have to wait. You got to wait for the full moon, man. You got to wait for the full moon to come out before you werewolf out. All right. So this story kind of follows that mythology with the werewolf. You got to wait for the moon to come out before you fur out. And then, yeah, but that's another positive for me is the transformation scene. Bro, that the single best werewolf transformation scene in the history of werewolf cinema, hands down, bar none, no exceptions. The transformation scene in American Werewolf in London is iconic. It's iconic because the practical effects work that went into that scene are legendary. I mean, it's right up there with The Thing. What Rick Baker did with the American Werewolf in London makeup and the design of the werewolf is just absolutely incredible. It's so well made and so brilliantly directed too. The way that John Landis shoots that transformation scene is so good. Like, it's not just a quick transformation where it's over and done in a couple of seconds. No, he sticks with it. He puts you in the moment and makes you feel what it would be like to transform into a werewolf. I mean, the pain and the agony of your bones shifting and just your body just ripping itself apart. Dude, it's such an awesome scene. The best werewolf transformation scene of all time. That whole scene is one of my favorite scenes in horror. It really is. It's one of my favorite scenes in horror. It's just so well executed. But the characters, I think, are also positives for me. The character writing, because the characters are so well written. You have David, who's he's the main protagonist, the guy that you're following through this movie, but he's a very likable guy. He's got a family that he loves and cares about. His friend Jack, who ends up dying, he feels bad that he couldn't save Jack, but you could tell he also cares about him, and he loved his friend. And then he forms this relationship with Nurse Price. When he's staying in the hospital recovering, they form a relationship. And I think those two actors had really good chemistry on screen together as well. I buy into their relationship. It didn't feel awkward or forced. It felt natural, and I buy into it. So him and Jack, I thought, had good chemistry together. So the characters, I think, are well written. They're likable characters. You invest in them. They're not annoying characters. They're not characters that leave a bad impression where you hope they get killed off. No, these are likable characters, and you buy into their stories and their journey along the way. So yeah, I think the characters are well written. I think the storytelling it's a beautiful story. Once David finds out that he is a werewolf, he doesn't hesitate about being willing to sacrifice himself in order to save other people. When he learns that he's becoming a werewolf and that he's going to keep killing innocent people, he doesn't think twice about saying, "You know what? You need to take me out. Take me out. Put me out of my misery in order to save a bunch of innocent people." He preserves human life. He knows the value of human life, and he knows, yeah, he's going to have all these powers and these skills as a werewolf, but it's not worth it to him. Killing innocent people isn't worth it to him. So he wants and is willing to die in order to save the lives of dozens of other innocent people that he would end up killing as a werewolf. And he's even willing to let go and say goodbye to his relationship with Nurse Price as well, and say goodbye to the woman that he loves in order to do what's right and in order to preserve human life. So he's a very respectable and honorable character in that regard. And just the storytelling itself, how it unfolds, how everything it comes together in the end, I think is just really well written and well crafted. So character writing's good, storytelling is good. The directing by John Landis, I think, is good. I like the cinematography here. A lot of red on blacks, the color schemes, the hues, some blue on whites. Just it looks really good. I like the cinematography in this film and how some of the scenes are shot. Specifically, the transformation scene is the best in the film, but the makeup design, the makeup art is also extraordinary. The art on Jack, the makeup art on Jack is just, I mean, how he starts all ripped to shreds. But over time, as the film unfolds, he becomes more and more disfigured, more and more deformed, until eventually he's just kind of this walking corpse, But the makeup design on Jack throughout this film is just incredible, absolutely incredible. So really strong positive there. The sound effects is amazing. When they're walking back from the pub and you just hear the sounds of the werewolf, the howling in the background, it's bone chilling, man. It really is bone chilling. I still get chills when I watch this movie and it gets to that scene and because it's raining, you hear the thunder and the lightning. It's night, late at night. And they're out in the woods and they're just walking down this path and you just hear this bone chilling howl from the woods, and you're just like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. And it absolutely is. So yeah, the sound effects are really good as well. The tension, like also John Landis, I think, does a good job at building tension throughout this film. It does kind of play out as a dark comedy. John Landis did write this to be a dark comedy, and there's some well-placed humor that I do think is well executed and well placed, and it works. It lands for me. But it's still a horror film at heart. It's still a true horror, and I think that it's just a very well directed horror film. Are there some sequences in it that I think could have been changed or could have been taken out? Yes, there's some kind of raunchy stuff that goes on at the end of the towards the end of the film, when they're in this theater. And there's some content, some stuff playing, adult films playing on the screen that obviously I would take out. I mean, there's no need for that. But I think when they were filming it, that was like the only location that they could film at that time where they were filming. So I don't think they had another option for that specific shot at that time. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously I would change that and some of the content in the film, but overall, this is a brilliantly directed film and brilliantly written. As far as the negatives go, I mean, you can probably figure out by now, I don't really have any negatives with American Werewolf in London. It's subjectively a perfect film. I give this movie 5 stars. It's a 10 out of 10, 5-star masterpiece. It's one of my favorite werewolf movies of all time. It was my favorite werewolf movie for many, many years. Was is the key word there, because it has been topped, it must be said, but it's still close. I mean, you could ask me on another day and I might fall back to American Werewolf as my favorite werewolf movie, but it's still one of my favorite werewolf movies. It's still a 5-star film. It's still one of my favorite horror films of all time. It's perfection as far as I'm concerned. When it comes to werewolf movies, it gives me everything that I want in a werewolf movie. An awesome transformation scene. A good looking werewolf. It's not that stupid Twilight stuff where they're just a giant wolf. CGI crap. No, this is an actual imposing, frightening werewolf design that looks really good. So gets points for that. It has the tension, the horror, but also some well-placed comedy. It's got likable characters. It's got everything that I want in a werewolf movie. So yeah, it gets 5 stars for me. I get it if it's not your cup of tea. Horror is much like comedy. It's very subjective. Not everything is for everyone. There's certain different subgenres of horror that just aren't everyone's cup of tea. But when it comes to werewolves, they are my cup of tea. I'm just a huge werewolf guy, a huge werewolf fan. So, and this is definitely one of the best werewolf movies ever made. So, yeah, it's perfection, guys, for me. Is it objectively perfect? Again, I don't believe there are any objectively perfect films, but my viewing experience when I come to this movie, it is a perfect film. There are some negatives that I can notice, some things that I can see in the film that could have been done better. I think the acting is one thing that obviously could have been improved. The actors that John Landis got weren't any A-list actors. They were pretty greenish. I don't think that they had really gotten really good training. And it's a horror film. It was a low budget horror film that turned into this classic over time, stood the test of time. But yeah, I mean, the acting, look, it's a horror film. You don't go into a horror film expecting, Daniel Day-Lewis level acting here. All right. So, but even for a horror film, it must be said, I don't think the acting is what it is in The Thing or what it is in Jaws. Or some of the ones that we've already reviewed. So yeah, the acting could have been better. Like I said, some of the directing decisions in certain scenes could have been, done better probably. But overall, it doesn't. None of those things affect my experience with this film. I can notice them and I can see them, but they don't ruin the film. That it doesn't negatively affect my experience with the movie. So yeah, I personally don't have any negatives with this film, but overall it's still perfection for me. 5 stars, great film. And yeah, it is a masterpiece. So there you go, guys. Those are my thoughts on American Werewolf in London. Do you agree with my rating? Are you also a werewolf fan? Is this your favorite werewolf movie? Or are you more of a vampire guy? Let me know in the comments section. Stay tuned all week long. We're going to be doing werewolf and vampire movies. So thank you guys for watching. And as always, until next time, kick it and rock on.